Who vacuumed this red carpet? It looks fantastic, Hebsy.
Doesn't it? How are we doing?
We vacuum it once a year. We give it a good vacuum, but looks
Right
looks.
Hi,
fantastic.
everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Red Carpet Show, Hebsy On Sports 257. We're going to start in a few minutes. We're going to start a little earlier, but that doesn't matter to you, does it? You're already here. Mike's going to tweet something out. I'm going to retweet it. And we're going to start the podcast. Man, so much going on. It's hard work after a while. You know, I like watching the games and that.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's hard work to follow sports, or is it all the stuff around the sports?
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, the Leaf game is on this night. The Raptor game is this night. Catch my highlights. Read stuff on the internet from the various sports websites. But I can't keep up. It's not a job for one person. I would need full-time help.
But the way I look at it is, this is not TSN. This is Hebsy on Sports. So it's really you talking about your takes on what you're interested in. This is like designed to be Hebsy centric.
Oh, I'm not apologizing.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying there might be certain issues where, hey, how come you're not talking about it? Man, I haven't had the time to get into it, and I don't want to just scratch the surface of something and say, well, I don't know anything about it, but here's what's going on. I'd like to have an opinion on something I'm talking about. And you're right. It's my show. We talk about the things that interest me.
Exactly.
I'm not interested in the WNBA championships. I wasn't, and I'm not. Now, get a team to Toronto, different story.
Okay, because you and Drake want that.
Goes and all that. I don't know enough about it, and I got so much on my plate.
Right. What's that I heard today? Portland. I can't even remember anymore. But is there a women's soccer playoffs going on right now?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay.
You're asking the wrong person.
All right.
Do you want to tweet this thing out?
Already done, buddy.
Okay, buddy.
Check that.
If that's the case, then I will retweet it, and then we can start.
Shout out to Pauly Shore, buddy. Here, let me go get things sorted there while you tweet that out. But welcome, everybody. I actually watched the third period in the overtime yesterday of the Leaf game. Okay, let me mute us here. Stand by. Okay, good. We're live. Shout out to Andrew. Andrew says good morning. Good morning to you, Andrew. And
good morning, Andrew. Good morning, everyone. We are going to start the podcast in a couple of seconds here because just so much to get into. So listen, if you've got questions or something that you don't know if we're going to talk about, throw them in there. Mike will monitor that, and maybe we get to your question or your comment on the air. No promises.
And let's fucking go. You censored fucking? You can't swear on Twitter?
I kind of like, you know what? I think it's more effective when you put the asterisk in there to replace one of the letters. Don't you?
No, I mean, no. I mean, unless you're afraid, are you afraid somebody will be offended that you spelled out fucking when everybody knows you mean fucking? Like, it's just an interesting editorial decision.
Hey, listen, you know what the word is. I don't have to shove it down your throat.
But if you can't handle that word, you can't handle Hebsy on Sports.
I'm censoring myself on social media to an extent, but not on the podcast. How's that?
I got you.
I don't say freaking at the freaking, And it reminds me of the movie Johnny Dangerously when I first heard that, where one guy he says, "You're a farging ice hole." But the way he says it.
Right.
I mean, you know what he's trying to say, but of course he can't say that. But it's just so funny to hear. You farging ice hole.
Were you watching the TV edit? Because that's famous during the TV edits. They change it. Like they do they put the like if you watch it in a theater, it's fucking asshole.
No, it's not.
Okay.
No, that's the point of the movie is when it came out and you're watching it on the big screen, he goes, "You farging ice hole." But he says it with such aggressiveness that it has the same effect as if he called him a fucking asshole.
You know what I remember still? You remember NYPD Blue, right?
Sure.
So Sipowicz, his line, I think it might have been the first episode. He says this, and he goes, I'll quote it because I still remember it. "Ipsy this, you pissy little bitch." That's what he says. Yeah. "Ipsy this, you pissy little bitch." And it sounded so profane, but when you break it down, like what's Ipsy? Pissy little bitch. Apparently you could say that on NBC back in the day or whatever. I don't know. But he said it, and it would just seem like he was swearing, but he wasn't really swearing. "Ipsy this, you pissy little bitch."
It's the way you say it.
Right. Right.
I mean, the universal word, I mean, for fuck, you could say however way you say it, it has 1,000 different meanings.
Of course.
There you go.
That's why it's a great word.
Yes.
Are you going to
And we'll be using it frequently on today's show. You ready to go?
Sure, but I was going to ask a question. Oh, Al
Yes.
Grego says that Johnny Dangerously was a great movie.
It was so good. It was funny.
I'm trying to remember it. Like
Go
mid-80s?
and get
Is it mid-80s?
Sure, it's out there somewhere.
Okay.
83, I'm going to say.
Okay. All right. I'm going to check it out. And to just say hello to Moose Grumpy and Gord and all these good people. Okay. All right, buddy. I have a question, though.
No crosswinds.
That's what I was
going to
ask.
Even though they're still open. Their sponsorship has ended for the next while. So anybody that's interested in sponsoring Hebsy on Sports, get in touch, because we got a spot open.
Now's the time. Absolutely.
We don't do a lot. I don't do a lot of advertising in this. I don't want to kill the flow of the show.
Right.
So, yeah, let's talk. Okay, good.
Hebsy's easy to talk to. Oh, Michael Keaton. I think I do remember it now. Okay. All right. So let's rock and roll. No countdown because I'm in charge now. Here we go.
Yes, you are. Live from Toronto, it's Hebsy on Sports, episode number 257. Hi there, sports fans. I'm your host, Mark Hebsher, speaking to you from the Little Italy studios. And over there at the mothership in New Toronto is Toronto Mike. Has not changed his moniker to New Toronto Mike because he's the original Toronto Mike. It's not like New Coke or Coke Classic. It's classic Toronto Mike.
Classic Toronto Mike.
Yeah. We got a fabulous show for you today. Why should today be different than any other Friday? Maple Leafs got a huge win last night. Huge. Did I mention that it was huge? Statement game against the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions? Yes, it was. Sidney Crosby has COVID. Aaron Rodgers has COVID, and he's a lying fuck. The Phoenix Suns have a racist and misogynistic owner, allegedly, according to 70 people. It's not looking good. The Chicago Blackhawks are homophobic, insensitive, and disgusting. The players, the management, anybody that was associated with that beach situation, terrible. The National Hockey League does not have a true leader. Well, we know that. I could go on and on, but there's other stuff to talk about, good stuff to talk about, like the Raptors looking for 6 in a row tonight when they host the Cleveland Cadavers. Woo. And Scotty Barnes is back in the lineup, and I can hardly wait to see him play. I'm going to the game tonight.
Wow. Awesome.
The Blue Jays have some decisions to make on the free agent market. First of all, free agency begins Monday, so Marcus Semien, Robbie Ray, and Steven Matz, will they all get qualifying offers? They better. Last week at this time, Toronto Mike was suffering. He had a head cold. He had to stay off his voice. The doctors were concerned, but he rallied. And how many shows did you do this week? How many podcasts did you do?
Well, this week, just 3.
Only 3. And now this one. Yeah. What a comeback. Off the DL. Here he is, Toronto Mike.
Thank you very much. Warm applause. Hebsy, good to see you, buddy. I love that I get to spend every Friday morning with you. I'm very lucky, man.
It is. We have a standing date. And by the way, the numbers, thank you all. Those of you listening, watching, doing both. You can, I guess, I don't know, but if you're watching on YouTube, do you go to the other room and do your thing like it's the radio, or do you come back every so often and actually watch, Mike scratch his forehead, or not a lot of movement here when you're watching Talking Heads. I know that if I'm watching the Talking Heads on TV, unless they're doing highlights, I can go in the other room, I can do stuff and still hear, the sports news.
Right.
So you're welcome to do that. You're not obligated to watch the screen.
Good, but I didn't
put on my... Make me nervous if I know that you're watching every move that I'm making.
I didn't put on my makeup this week, so I'm glad you pointed that out to everybody.
You didn't put on your makeup?
No, did you?
You got that interesting side light happening there.
Oh, yeah,
Did you get a lighting director in there? What is that?
That light's always been here, but I used to turn the light bulb so that this light didn't come on because I liked it dark here. But for some video reasons and some clients, and I decided I'd give them that light, and now
you're letting the clients now dictate what goes on in your show, huh?
There's only one reason.
By the way, hold that thought. I want to get into that.
Okay.
The company called The Source.
Oh yeah, which Bell owns. Yeah, we have to get into that. Bell Media owns The Source. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. What else did I?
Oh no. Yeah. Things are good here. How are things with Hebsy, man?
Things are never better, really. Feeling good. Went to the doctor yesterday, to the hospital, which is right around the corner from me, Toronto Western Hospital. Fabulous care. So I go in for a bone scan because I'm 65 now. And when you're 65, it's like, oh, we got to check your bones, your bone density, the whole thing like that.
Sure.
So at 65, you get all these things like for free, not for free, but like the doctor says, all right, you're due for a bone scan and this and that.
Right.
You know, when was the last time you had a colonoscopy? Like it's all a bunch of checks, you know, blood work, another shingles shot, you know, oh, you're 65. Good for you. You get a shingles shot. And another 10% off at Shoppers Drug Mart. And it's great. So I'm over there yesterday. So I figure while I'm there for the bone scan, which I have an appointment for, I'm in and out in 15 minutes. I'm in the hospital. I figure, you know, as long as I'm here, I'll get my blood work done. And I go to, you know, where you get the blood work done. And there's like 5 people in line. That's it, in the waiting room.
Nice.
Beautiful. Zip in there. Hi. They've got my records. You know, who's your doctor? Dr. Singh. Okay. Yes, Mark. Take a seat. 3 minutes later, I go in. I sit down to get my blood work done. The guy recognizes me from TV. Hey, Mark, how's it going? What's going on? And we're chatting, and he's, you know, taking 3 things of blood out of me while I'm not watching because I can't watch that stuff.
Right.
And had a nice chat with him, and I'm in and out in like 25 minutes. Get all my stuff done at the hospital. Beautiful thing.
What a country we live in, Hebsy.
So I'm feeling good.
And you never had to open your wallet once, right?
No. Yeah, I did.
Oh, you bought a coffee?
I had to show that I'm fully vaccinated, my vaccination status. You know, she never did say to me, and that's interesting now that I think of it. Where did they ask me that at the hospital?
I don't think they do ask you at the hospital.
No, they didn't. Sorry,
Like
that wasn't at the
store.
hospital. That was at the restaurant I was at.
Right.
Pantsers. I went to Pantsers for lunch with my son and my dad yesterday.
Nice.
Former sponsor of ours.
Of course, Lauren.
And I had to show it there, but that's right. In the hospital, I didn't have to show it. I just had to put a different mask on.
Because I got one kid and we skate and another kid in swimming and another kid in house league hockey with a practice every week. I think I've shown that PDF and then my ID to prove I'm the name on the PDF. I think I've done that 12 times now, and I've never been to a restaurant yet. So,
wow. Yeah. And I'm going to the Raptors game tonight. My buddy Paul Duder asked me if I wanted to go.
Nice.
And I said, sure, yeah, for sure. So same thing. You got to wait in line. You've got to show them your vaccination status.
Right.
You don't have to show them you do. You have to show them ID also.
Yeah, you got to prove you're the name on that PDF.
That's you. Right. So I'm prepared for that. Like putting them, as soon as you put the mask on, to me, you put the mask on, just get your ID ready. Mask on, ID ready.
Right. You should know the drill by now. Hey, you want a compliment to start the show? And I'm sure there are some.
I would love a compliment to start the show. Make my day.
Chris Hobson wants you to know that you look great for 65.
Oh, thanks.
I think he's shocked to learn you're 65.
Well, figure it out. I mean, I was on Global, it went like in the 80s.
Yeah, do the math, man.
80s.
Do the math.
Like, do the math, man. That's 35 years ago.
And Gene thinks the show should be called Hebsy on Health. He thinks that's the new show.
Didn't we once call it Hebsy on Stuff?
Yeah, because there was no sports after the pandemic. So we called it Hebsy.
That's right.
I changed it to Hebsy on Stuff because there was 0 sports to cover in April 2020.
Right.
March 2020.
So the article I just wrote, the 4-part article for the Canadian Jewish News, is called Hebsy on Schnall. Because that's the subject of my the article. I had a Schnall.
And guess who was
Jewish
here?
Athlete of all time.
Guess who was here for a 3-hour episode yesterday?
Ralph Ben Murgy.
Close.
Wait a second. I know. My editor.
Right. Your editor on
Mark
that piece.
Weisblatt,
Yeah, we were talking about
News,
that.
1236.
Right.
Now, is it 1236?
Yeah.
Or is it 1236?
No, it's
as you like to be called. Or 123.6.
1236.
Or in French. What is it in French? 1236? Is that what they call him? Is he 12 Francis?
I don't think they call him at all in French.
Francis. There used to be a bar in Montreal called, it was at 1234 Mountain Street, I think.
Wow.
And it was called 1234. That was like the name of it, but people didn't know. They're looking for 1234 or, that type of thing. Anyway, we're going on to a completely different topic. Listen, I got a few sponsorship opportunities available. Our good friends at Crosswinds, and by the way, I'm playing there tomorrow. Their sponsorship has ended. It usually does at the end of golf season, but hey, we're in November and still got golf. So we got some openings. And if you're interested in being part of the podcast, you want to be a sponsor, you want to be a partner. I like that better.
Yeah,
you want to be a partner.
Yeah.
Get in touch with me or Mike, or he'll pass it on to me. It's easy to get in touch,
Yeah. I've long thought that the Jesse and Jean podcast should be a sponsor of Hebsy on Sports. We would talk up the Jesse and Jean podcast every week.
Hey, I'm up for anything. Okay. But as you know, it's a very personal thing here. You're part of, a small but fiery group of sports fans that listens to the show, contributes to the show. And so, we want to have sponsors that fit in. Right. Quite frankly, there have been a couple of people that have approached me, and the product or service that they had to offer just wasn't up our alley. I wouldn't have been comfortable promoting that product or service on this podcast. That's all I'm going to say. So anyway, if you're interested, let us know.
And you're referring to the funeral home, of course.
No, there's just a lot of different ones. There's just a lot of different ones where I just couldn't see that product or service being integrated into this show. It would sound like a commercial. Before we go on, a word from our sponsor.
Yeah, unlike
and
us
our sponsor
unlike us talking about our balls every week. You're right.
Well, that worked because
yeah, you sold 190 units.
How long were they on for?
I know.
190, Mike, and they still didn't renew. 190 units we sold for.
Another podcast I'm affiliated with is going to do a test with them, and I feel like they need to talk to Hebsy first.
It's okay. No. I would never say anything wrong about them. They're nice folks at Manscaped. It just didn't work. What can I tell you?
Okay.
Now, listen, I got into the sportscasting business because simply I loved watching and following sports. And when I found out that you can make a living out of watching and following sports, I said, I'm in for that. Woo. Easy, right? What did I know about toxic work environments, behind the scenes, sexual assaults, people who use horrible language, liars? What did I know? I thought everyone told the truth. And that's the way it was, because through my eyes, that's what sports was. It was pure. It was truthful. Well, who would be lying? Who would be covering up when you're a young, naive sports fan? Well, as you know, sports has become more than just a game. Nowadays, everyone's looking for a good story. Everyone's looking to uncover something. And it seems that a lot of people have secrets out there that need to be uncovered, unearthed. And when you get good journalists seeking out the truth and demanding answers, it makes for compelling news. Not this fluffy shit. Real compelling news that makes you think, makes you wonder, makes you want to comment on it. Now, there were some great games in sports last week, some great individual performances. But before we recognize those, we need to recognize some of the villains this week, because these are the people that are fucking up sports for all of us. These are the ones, and they have to be called out. We have to eliminate these people. We have to stop this type of behavior so that we can enjoy the games for what they are. Instead of wondering, oh my God, what did that coach do? What did that person do? What the fuck's going on behind the scenes there? So look, let's start with Gary Bettman, whose best before date has come and gone. Did a long time ago, as far as I'm concerned. Same goes for that liar, Aaron Rodgers. And this news story, Phoenix Suns majority owner Robert Sarver, who's been accused of uttering racist and misogynistic comments for many years. I believe I've been using the word misogynist and misogynistic more in the last, few years than I didn't even know the word existed up till a few years ago, or I'd never used it anyway. And let's not forget a number of members of the Chicago Blackhawks organization and players, Duncan Keith and Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane, who failed to protect Kyle Beach. They knew. And what about these high school students in Pennsylvania shouting out, "Suck my dick" to a female hockey goalie? High school kids in Pennsylvania. Where are the parents? Where are the administrators? Shocking, especially now. Have they not been reading the news? Are these people not engaged in what's been going on for the last few years? Come on, really. This is sad stuff, folks. Really sad. And these aren't sports issues. They just happen to take place in sporting environments. These are societal issues. What's happening with people? What happened to humanity? Weren't we all supposed to rally together during the pandemic and treat others, not think about ourselves? No, it's the opposite now. We've become so insensitive, so unaware of the pain we are causing that it's ridiculous. There's a level of disgust, not disappointment, disgust that's far greater than that level of disappointment when it comes, let's say, to the NHL. Oh, I'm disappointed in the National Hockey League. Fuck that. Disgusted with the NHL. How long does it take Didn't we go through this with Akeem Alou and Bill Peters a couple years ago? Like, come on. This happened 11 years ago. Of course, it wouldn't happen today, or would it? If it was let go for that many years and swept under the rug and no one knew about it, then why would you stop that type of behavior? You could just sweep it under the rug again, I guess. And this is where Gary Bettman's press conference the other day marked the end of his career, as far as I'm concerned. That was a prime example as to how out of touch he and the league are when it comes to today's issues. Not hockey issues, just what's going on in the world. He's so out of touch. And anyone who says that Bettman should be fired is correct, except it's not that simple, because he works for the owners and he makes them a lot of money. And I want to know how the fuck he got away with not answering a question or not even acknowledging Rick Westhead, the journalist who exposed the Blackhawks scandal. And 40 minutes into his press conference, he still refused to allow Westhead to ask a question until a TSN colleague, Pierre Lebrun, insisted that Bettman recognize Westhead and answer his questions. Now, does it have to come to that the league president refuses to ask a question that not only might, that will put him in the crosshairs, put his feet to the fire? Don't we want that from our leaders? Yeah, bring it on. Go ahead and ask me the questions and I'll answer them as honestly as I can. But he doesn't do that. He's cold, he's arrogant, and he makes the NHL look Bush League. And you can't have a president doing that. And what about the NHLPA and their executive director, Donald Fear? They turned their back on Beach as well. If you're a player in the NHL, and Wayne Simmons was very articulate the other day, if you're a player in the NHL, are you confident that the NHL Players Association is going to protect you? That the league and the PA have your best interest as a player? No, I doubt it. If you can't trust your leadership, it's time to get rid of them. Get rid of Gary Bettman. Get rid of Donald Fear. Change things now. And in the future, it'll be better for all those concerned. Think of all the people that could have been and were affected by the lack of decision-making by the Blackhawks 11 years ago. That piece of shit, that puke that had his name X'd off the Stanley Cup, went out and offended and re-offended. And how many other times did he offend? And we don't know about it after the Beach incident. It's disgusting. I'm going to tell you a story about Gary Bettman when he was first named president of the NHL. I was doing between periods and intermission host of the Leaf games on Global, and we did a lot of games. And when Bettman first got the job, I think it was 92, we brought him on between periods to introduce him. Hey, this is your new wasn't commissioner, sorry, president, NHL president? Is he the commissioner or the president? I don't even freaking know.
Commissioner, I think.
Is he the commissioner?
Yeah, I think that's his title.
Because I know it's the commissioner of the NFL and it's the commissioner of baseball, commissioner of the NBA. But did he get the commissioner gig or is he NHL president, Gary? And whatever the fuck he is, he's the head guy. So when he was first named president, I don't think he was named commissioner.
I think he's a commissioner of the National Hockey League.
He is. But when he was first named, I think he was just president of the NHL. We had him on between periods. I'm sitting on a stool in the studio. There's a stool next to me. He comes in. Hello. No handshake, nothing like that. Looks at the stool. I'm not sitting on that stool. Why not? I want a higher stool. Higher stool? What the fuck are you talking about? We have one size. Now we got the union guys that are there too, right? Because it's in Maple Leaf Gardens. We got union guys. You can't touch that. You can't touch the stool. You can't touch the light. You can't touch anything. Only a union guy can touch it. So now we're between periods. They're in commercial. And I forget who my producer was in my ear. Where's Bettman? Why is he sitting down? What's going on? But everyone's like panicking. He says, I'm not sitting on that stool. I want a higher stool. Because Gary Bettman's 5 foot nothing. And I'm about 6 foot something. And he doesn't want to sit there and look like a little kid. He's like a foot shorter than me. So now we have to get a riser to put the stool on. They can't get one because the union guy has to get it and it's taking time and let's go, hurry up. And it's just a madhouse. And finally he finds something and quickly we put the stool on top of it. And now Bettman is 3 inches taller than me. It looks really dumb because he's sitting on a stool on a riser.
Right.
So he's above my head. It just looks so dumb. So now I have to stand. But if I stand too tall up, I'm still way tall. So I have to stand and hunch over to do an interview with Gary fucking Bettman because he's worried about his height, how he's going to appear.
Right.
And right then and there, I said, "This guy."
All right. I have the goods here on what's going on with these titles. So Gary Bettman has only been, he's the commissioner, firstly, but he's the first ever NHL commissioner. They started calling them commissioner when he took the job on February 1st, 1993. So Gil Stein was the president, but he's the final NHL president. Then Bettman comes in from the NBA, and he's the commissioner. And now it's
so I get when he came in. Oh, that's right. So when he came in from the NBA, do you think he said to them, I'm not president.
Yes, right.
I'm a commissioner.
For sure. He said,
right?
I'm taking the gig, but we're changing this from president
to
commissioner.
commissioner.
I want to be the commissioner.
I have all powers.
He's the only commissioner the NHL has ever had.
Right. It's always been the president before that.
Right.
There haven't been that many. I think I can go back. There was Gil Stein for a very short period of time. What a fuck up. Go look him up.
I have the list.
Stein
Let's see how far back you can go.
Wait. Hang on.
Yeah.
Ziegler before him.
Yes.
Brian. No, he was Brian O'Neill was the executive vice president. Clarence Campbell.
Yep. You can go before that.
Mervyn Red Dutton.
That's correct. Wow. Okay.
And Frank Calder.
Honestly, I wish I could cue up the applause. That's amazing. You nailed it. That's everything.
I know a little bit about sports.
That's amazing.
Okay. By the way, so how do you perceive the NHL now, Mike? The league, the structure, hierarchy, in light of what's happened recently?
I've long felt like this whole commissioner title that Bettman has is a bit of a misnomer, a lot of a misnomer, because it suggests that he represents the game. Okay, you think about like, oh, he's here in charge of protecting the integrity of the game, but he absolutely works for the NHL owners, as you mentioned. Like he works.
But don't all commissioners of sports work for the owners?
I feel like wasn't after the 1919 scandal, like didn't baseball bring in a commissioner that represented the game?
Kennesaw Mountain Labs.
Right. So.
But that's to say the commissioner of the Major League Baseball still is working for the owners, right?
So there's okay. I wasn't sure whether he had some responsibility to the players because Bettman is 100% works for the owner, and that's why he gets booed every time he gives out the Stanley Cup. But he works for the owners. he only and the owners, as you know, these rich guys, and maybe I think they're all guys. I can't remember, but the rich people that employ Bettman just want to cash checks, and Bettman's been so extraordinary in that regard. I think he's safe. I don't think he. And I just want to point one more thing out on that note, that he did not call on Rick Westhead, and it turns out that's commonplace since he took over. That if you write an article that the NHL doesn't like, he freezes you out at these press conferences. It's like a shot across the bow. Think before you write that article, because it means
he's not the only one. In those controlled press conferences, it's real easy for someone to go, who's asking the question?
Sure, well,
screw you.
In
or
politics, we
completely.
see it quite a bit, particularly with conservative governments, where they won't call on somebody they know is going to be asking them a difficult question.
I'm not going to answer that question. What am I going to put myself in that position for?
So I'm not even surprised that Bettman didn't want to call on Rick Westhead, because that's how he operates. And he's not a democratically elected official. Like, he doesn't have to be transparent. Right. He works for the owners. But
I think it's great that the media, certain members of the media are saying, listen, we're not going to stand for this anymore. We need transparency from you. And in order to do that, you have to answer the tough questions. And if you're not going to allow the question to be asked, you're going to suppress. You can't suppress the press.
Right.
Now, Rick Westhead is not a member of the Professional Hockey Writers Association, which I guess loosely are the ones who kind of help control the news conferences, or, speak for the, for the media, I guess. And which to me is like lame. This guy just broke a story. This guy is a well-respected journalist and has every right to ask these questions at your press conference.
Right.
Free press.
Right.
All right. Now, the Leafs. Now, did I bury the lead today?
Well, I don't know anymore. What in sports, it used to be the lead was what happens on the ice, but now it seems like everything else is making so much noise.
And it's my show.
And it's Hebsy On Sports.
I want to talk about that first. But having said that, what a game last night.
Yeah.
Even if the Leafs would have lost, I would have said that was the best game of the year. It was exciting, nonstop action, fabulous goaltending, end to end. And if you give me 7 games like that come the spring for the playoffs, I would be in heaven. In heaven.
Right.
And let me tell you, I loved hearing Leaf fans last night going, boo, boo. Everyone thought, for a second, what's that? What are they booing? No, they're going, soup, soup. As Soupy Campbell's making these unbelievable saves, making like Johnny Bauer last night. with an extraordinary display of goaltending.
Yes.
Yet there was another extraordinary display last night, an extraordinary display of utter stupidity by all-world defenseman Victor Hedman,
right,
who had plenty of time to clear the puck in the final seconds of regulation with Tampa hanging on to a 1-0 lead, but failed to do so. It was awful.
Right.
Led to the Leafs tying goal by John Tavares. Then incredibly, in overtime, Hedman again, takes a dumb slashing penalty, leading to the winning goal on the power play by Nylander. Leafs escape thanks to Jack Campbell with a 2-1 win. This was after they blew a 5-on-3 power play for a full 2 minutes in the first period.
Right.
Best game of the year.
Hebsy,
statement game by Morgan Riley. This is a statement game, which was kind of obvious, but for him to say, look, this game is going to go a long way to determining what type of team we've got, what we're made of. Confidence booster. 4 straight wins for the Leafs now. But if it's not for Soupy Campbell, Lightning win the game in the third period. He was extraordinary. Did I mention that?
He was excellent. It was a fantastic game. And I got to say, though, when Hedman took that penalty in overtime, seeing 4-on-3 and the 4, Marner, Matthews, Tavares, and Nylander, you look and you go, this is fun. Like this is a power play of those 4 guys on the ice. That's a lot of skill out there. And I wasn't surprised.
And I thought Vasilevsky was going to stop them. I said, no, this guy you're not going to get another one by him. And they finally did with, I think, 12 seconds left in the power play, something like that. But they were I love seeing that shooting gallery like that. That's hockey.
I know. It was great fun.
Great skating.
And the Tavares goal to tie it is funny because I've told myself regular season doesn't matter. And it's, I like wake me in April and let's see what's going on. Right. But they kind of suck you in. Like, this is what this team does. They suck
the matchup. You're playing Tampa. I mean, this is the way to prove yourself. How are you going to play against the defending Stanley Cup champs and the best goalie in the world?
And that was an exciting win. How many wins in a row for this team right now? Do you know offhand?
4.
Yeah, it's just they kind of suck you back in when you tell yourself you're done. Like, wake me in April, and it's like suddenly I'm watching again and I'm excited with the Tavares goal. Right. It was such a great goal. They suck you back
in.
Damn them! Damn them all to hell!
All right, so 7 games of that. I'm good. Love to see that. Give me Tampa in the playoffs. Bring them on. I'm ready for them now. Leafs now in second place in the Atlantic Division, trailing only the unbeaten Florida Panthers, who are 9-0-1 after they beat Washington 5-4 on an own goal by Tom Wilson in overtime. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Puts it in his own net. Panthers 9-0-1. Good for them. And then there's the story of the Montreal Canadiens. Le Tricolore. Big problems. 3-9-0 to start the season. Lost 6-2 to the Islanders last night. Thumped. Okay. But if they make the playoffs, you never know. Lots of time.
And, of course, their awesome goaltender is not playing. So it's sort of, you put it as an asterisk, I'd say.
Yeah. And they sent down Cole Caulfield to Laval. I mean, the guy was a big star in the playoffs last year, and now he's in the minors. Yikes. The Leafs' next game is tomorrow night at the Scotiabank Arena against the Boston Bruins. Big test there. LA Kings come to town Monday, and then the Leafs hit the road Wednesday for a date with the Flyers. Looking good. You needed that. You needed that game. You needed that confidence booster. That's 4 wins in a row now. You're going, all right, everybody's healthy? Check. Soupy Campbell in goal? Check. Let's go.
Let's go.
Mike, I could never understand why, when I was in the business and now, why as soon as the game is over, immediately they show you the highlights of the games you just watched. Immediately. And that's it for Gord Miller, Ray Ferraro. So long for now. Boom. Da-da-da, da-da-da. Hi, everybody. The game you were just watching. Let's look at the highlights. I just watched the game for 3 hours. I don't get it. Who tunes into TSN at 9:41 p.m. to catch the highlights? Me, I'm used to, it's top of the hour. All right, let me flip it on. But not at 9. I'm not, wait a second. I'm in the middle of a show, murder on the homicide, murder on the streets. No, wait, it's 9:41.
Well, you want
Leaf game's over. I didn't want to watch that. I just want to see the highlights at 9:41. No, doesn't work for me. I'm sorry.
I'm with you, but you want to know that you know the answer, but you want me to just share with you why they do that? I guess
I know why they do it. I worked in the business. I don't agree with that type
I'm
of program.
mansplaining to Hebsy how sports media works, but I'm with you. It always seems bizarre. I just watched this game, and now I'm going to watch the highlights of the game I just watched. Like, I'm more interested in everything
No,
else.
but even the announcer, the announcer says, and the game that you just watched.
Right.
If you just watched it, why are we showing it again? I don't know. Look, to say, for those of you who missed the whole game, here's a wrap up. I'm okay with that. Like, frame it for me. Anyway, it's a little.
I hear you.
And by the way, the TSN panel is way better than the Sportsnet panel. The Sportsnet panel gives me a headache after a while because they all have this sort of furrowed brow. Let's go over to you now. This is bad.
That's the Brian Burke effect. I think he rubbed that on them. He was always so miserable. Like isn't hockey? You watch it for fun, right? Like he was always so grumpy.
Right. But like I said, and I mentioned on last week's show, is that it's sort of like, hi, now the panel. The first period was pretty good, I guess, but let's get into the real issues now. And, let's go to 4 or 5 talking heads with furrowed brows talking about how bad this is, and how bad the game is, and how concerned they are, and this issue and that issue. Wait a second. I came for the game. Right. I'm flipping off. Now, if it's Don Cherry and he's going to say something outrageous, okay. I'm not getting anything outrageous or funny or I don't know. It's just too serious. They're taking it just too serious. I need it as an escape. Whereas on TSN panel, they have a few laughs. It doesn't get too melodramatic. You know what I mean? Duthie's a, easygoing kind of host. I don't see Duthie with the furrow. I mean, look, Duthie is as good as they come.
Of course, yeah.
But I mean, the furrowed brow only works for so long. Here's our concern. But now let's move on to something else. Oh, Doc, what'd you think of that? Well, what'd you think of that? So it's a little lighter. It's a little less melodramatic. They don't take themselves so seriously.
Right.
Having said that, there is some concern on social media as to the arrangement that the Source has with several TSN personalities. Now, Mike, you know this,
right? That
the Source, that company that Best Buy's rival, I guess, right? Wouldn't it be Best Buy? That's their big rival.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, so the Source is owned by Bell Media.
Correct.
Bell, right?
Bell.
That's Bell Media, or it's just
Bell?
Bell?
I think it's BCI, I think, owns it.
Yeah,
but
whatever it is.
Same
BCE.
parent company.
Yeah, right. So they own the Source. So the Source has a working arrangement with TSN whereby they're supplying electronics to the personalities in exchange for the personalities being known as powered by the Source, or I forget the expression they use, not works with. Sort of
I can't remember. I will just
associate.
let people know the Source, of course, used to be known as a Radio Shack.
Yeah, Radio Shack. And so I'm watching the game, and we're in between periods, and Duthie and the panel are on, and then boom, here's a commercial for the Source. It's Rachel from the Source. She's the expert.
Right.
And there's James Duthie with, I assume, his daughter.
Yeah, that's his
or
family.
An actress playing his daughter no, it's got to be his daughter. And they're on the couch and they're playing Xbox or whatever. And I'm going, oh, that's great. Right. And so I just saw James on TSN, and he's the guy, but he's also a personality, and he's doing this. And remember a while ago he did for, I think it was Pepsi or Coke, where he leaves the set and he goes off and he has a couple of Pepsis as part of it. So James he's like embedded, or the sponsorship is sort of embedded with him. There's James Duthie. He does the Source commercials. He does the Pepsi commercials. But there's also shots of him and Kate Burness, and they're on their laptops.
Right.
And it's like James Duthie is powered by the Source, or something like that.
Sure.
Kate Burness is powered by the Source. And there's a lot of discussion on social media that this takes away from their credibility as journalists. That if something came up whereby the Source was involved, they couldn't say anything bad because that's a sponsor of theirs. They're associated with it. I'm not sure, but what do you think about that?
Okay, well, firstly, there's sports journalists. I'm just thinking of somebody like a Don Cherry. He was always hawking something. I think of all the brands that Don Cherry.
Right, but Don Cherry had his own brand. He wasn't associated with the CBC the same way.
Okay.
Remember too, you had Dutchie and Dan O'Toole did commercials a while. They've had that deal for a few years with the Source.
Sure. Jack Armstrong has been doing lots of ads.
That's different. Jack Armstrong's a basketball guy only. And he's, you know what I mean? It's not the same thing. These are TSN personalities.
I think it's okay for James Duthie to wet his whistle with the extra money that comes in for doing an ad for the Source.
I was never allowed to do that. So this is why I'm interested. This is many years ago now. But
right. Because
I had many opportunities, and I'm pretty sure Teddy did as well. And we did together, I know that, to, endorse products or whatever it was. And they were like, no way.
See,
and at the CBC, if you even made 2 cents doing a speaking engagement,
right,
you're out the door, man. If they ever found that out,
the Amanda Lang principle, they've got
that was
very
a bit too
rules.
harsh as far as I was concerned.
Strict rules.
But so there's that, is there the purity of journalism whereby you're not taking any money from any sponsors that would compromise you as someone who's impartial? I don't know. The line has been blurred these days.
Yeah, without a doubt. But again, these endorsements that somebody like a James Duthie does, they always end up benefiting the person who signs his checks. Like if you follow the money, you realize either it's a company owned by Bell or it's something that's spending big bucks. Like I don't know if you said it was Pepsi or Coke or whatever he does. Like they have a huge advertising contract with Bell Media. Like it's almost like the whole cross-platform make money through the other channels is part of the gig now. I think they always. I think his bosses ask him to do these things.
Right. So the Source is really a partner in more ways than one with TSN because they sponsor, or they did. They still Overdrive. They were, I believe, one of the original sponsors. They wanted to have that connection with Overdrive.
It's just taking money from one pocket and putting the other. It's what it's like. It's like if Roz and Mocha are now on breakfast television, like which happened.
And Mocha, right. Roz and Mocha.
So
Roz, I love those guys.
Yeah. So they both.
They're great.
It's Rogers owns both properties, and it's just Yeah, I think it's fine.
We don't have that issue because we don't own you, and like neither one of us owns like some.
You come on Toronto Mike to do a sports media roundtable 4 times a year, and it's all in the family. And you go on Humble and Fred quite a bit. That's all in the family.
All in the family. By the way, Glenn Miller. Please.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Here's my take on the Jack Eichel.
Let's hear it.
Ready? I couldn't care less. I'm a Leafs fan. Good for him. Hope his neck feels better and he gets the surgery. Let's move on. Now, basketball.
Oh, okay.
The Raptors have surprised a lot of people early in the season, myself included. They're off to a 6-3 start, but remember, they started horribly. Terrible. 1-3, boom, 5 wins in a row. No Pascal Siakam at all. No Scotty Barnes for the past couple of tilts with a finger injury. And still, win. Spicy P still out with that shoulder issue, but the electrifying rookie Barnes is back tonight as the Raps host Cleveland. And shout out to my buddy Paul Duder, who invited me to the game tonight at the SBA. We are going. It's going to be very exciting to see live. Yeah. OG Anunoby, FVV, Precious, Kem, Trent Jr., Boucher, Svi Mihailuk, Banton from Rexdale on the 45, Flynn. I'm pumped for this one.
But have
the Raptors catch a bit of a break because 2 of Cleveland's best, Lauri Markkanen and Kevin Love, are out because of COVID. So let's go for 6 in a row tonight.
This is great fun, and I love it, and I'm excited for you tonight. But my plan was for another lottery pick, and this is completely blowing up my strategy here. But
why? Why do you want another lottery pick?
Because this team is not a championship contending team.
Says you.
Says me, yes. Basketball.
Look at how they're playing without Siakam. What if he has a bounce back year?
Are you suggesting this team could actually, win the East? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, win the East, you mean finish first in the regular season?
No, I mean actually
win through the playoff.
Win through the playoff and end up.
Sure, why not? Pretty wide open to me.
Okay, I don't know what Bodog odds you'd get on that one, but that would be somebody cut this tape to play later and show how little I know. But
you're telling me that they don't have the talent.
Right. I'm saying this team is a transition team. Like it's really? I don't think
pretty
this
good
team
the other night.
Yeah, sure.
The Knicks beat them. I mean, tell me, who do you think that there's no way they can beat?
I'm shocked that you think this team could win the East. I guess.
Give me a reason why they can't. Well, no, I mean, is Scotty Barnes better than you thought?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Scotty Barnes.
Do you figure he'll improve as the year goes on?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Take injuries out of it. Of course, that's a huge thing. But if they stay healthy, tell me what it is about this team that you don't think they're capable of winning the East. Tell me which team. By the way, you know so much about the NBA. What team's going to win the East? Who's Miami? There you go. Winners. Give it to them. Sixers? Knicks?
No.
Bucks.
Okay, your point's valid.
That's
Bucks, why it's called Hebsy on Sports, not Toronto Mike Sports. But can I ask a very important question?
So they're off to a 6-3 start.
Yeah.
They look very good. No reason to think that they can't contend for the East.
Okay.
Tell me otherwise.
Well, you're turning me on. This is turning me on. You know what I mean?
Well, you're being very pessimistic.
Okay. I
want a lottery pick. They're not good enough. I want another lottery pick.
I think this team long term would benefit from another lottery pick, but it doesn't seem like this team is interested in that. So
long term. What's long term?
Yeah. Well, Raptors devotee is suggesting that the Bucks and the Heat are on a completely different level, but there's a couple.
They are, but the thing is, they could burn themselves out during the regular season. You know that it doesn't matter where you finish in the regular season; it's how you do in the playoffs. Ask the Atlanta Braves. So regular season means squat. Get into the playoffs. Never know.
Can I ask an important question about your journalistic integrity? This ties into the Duthie. I was going to ask it before the Raptors talk, but you run a roll. This is very important. If a moose killed somebody on the 17th hole at Crosswinds, would you report on that?
Of course. Okay. If it was part of my job to report on,
well, that's a sporting,
moose killings.
Well, it's a sports related killing. Like, would you report that on Hebsy?
What do you mean it's a sport? How is it a sports related killing?
This death occurred on a golf course.
Oh, come on. Give me a real story. Give me something that would really happen. Come on. Give me a real example. Come up with it. I'm here for another little while. Let's move on. Okay. Got a lot of people from Montreal, by the way, going, hey, there's a pretty good Quebec connection going on with the Raptors there, right? You got Kem Birch, you got Chris Boucher. And I thought, geez, wouldn't it be lovely for the Raptors, so that the fans of Montreal and Quebec could embrace this team, Canada's team, if the Raptors played maybe, a couple of regular season games there next year. Holy shit, did people come down on me? Oh my God. Montreal, they don't know. What do they know from freaking hoops? They don't know anything about hoops. They're having trouble getting a baseball team. Nobody likes basketball in Montreal.
Velitis was a big was one of the guys I saw chiming in to say like no or whatever. I thought you were kind of making a good point there. I think they would do well.
I thought so too, but people in Toronto are like, fuck them. We don't want them. We're not going to give up any of our games for Montreal. And I got then people in Montreal going, are you kidding? We've sold the place out, the Bell Center, before for exhibition games. We love basketball here.
Right.
And now I'm thinking, I wonder if you were to take a poll of Montrealers and said, you can only have one, Expos or an NBA team. Choisissez-vous.
Interesting.
The only problem is you need $2 billion to get an NBA team to come to Montreal. Where's that money going to come from?
Yeah, a new franchise. Well, is that the new price? Is that because of the Clippers sale? Like, is that because that's different? That's an LA-based team. $2 billion.
You got to have.
That's unbelievable.
More money than anybody in Canada has. Who in Canada would have that kind of money?
Does the Molson family? What about the Molson family? Do they have that kind of money?
Molson family is going to be part of the Expos thing. Right. Their wealth is going to go towards the Expos. The only difference is this: the Expos do not have a ballpark. And a basketball team has a ready-to-go arena.
Right.
All set. Anyway, $2 billion.
Wow.
If you know anybody. Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers didn't mislead reporters and fans earlier this year when he said he was immunized. He didn't mislead them. He fucking lied to them and smirked while he did it. If I was a Packers fan, I'd be pissed. This is a guy who had a press conference a while ago. And they asked him flat out. He says, I'm immunized. Now, no one said, by immunized, do you mean you're double vaccinated, Aaron? They just kind of went, he's playing coy with us here. And then if you remember, he tried to get the NFL to pay for a different type of therapy, I guess a holistic answer to the COVID-19 vaccine. Remember that? He's like, I don't want to take the vaccine. I want to take a holistic.
An alternative, right.
Alternative, yeah. Right. They told him to get lost. Sure. Fuck off, we're not paying for that. So now he's tested positive for COVID and is going to miss Sunday's game against the Chiefs, and it could cost the Packers home field advantage in the playoffs. What a jerk this guy is. So what a liar.
I'm surprised because I've always thought he was kind of regarded as a leader, and this is a poor example of that. It's very disappointing, actually.
He's been a dick all year. He really has. And he hung Packers fans and management out to dry.
Right.
And this thing with COVID. Now to find out, like, what if you were a Packers player and you said, geez, I thought you were vaccinated. And he's like, oh, no, I said immunized. Well, what the fuck is that? You're putting us at risk, but you're also putting the team and the fans at risk, because if you miss this game, which you are against KC, and we lose this game and we lose home field advantage because we didn't win a game we should have, we're going to point the finger at you.
Look, speaking of shitty sports journalism, when you're in that room and he says the word immunized instead of vaccinated, how do you not follow that up with a clarification?
Well, see, that's just it.
That's shocking.
The media that were there, maybe they just looked at each other and said, he's obviously playing games. And you can't ask someone if they're vaccinated. I guess you're just not allowed to ask them flat out.
Of course you can.
Well, again, but I don't think anyone answers that question. I think unless you say, yes, I'm fully vaccinated, any other answer is you're not vaccinated. So it's just become this game now. And he's playing this game saying that he was immunized and figured, I'll get away with this. I'll get away with it. Meanwhile, he's doing media availabilities, not wearing a mask. He's doing all these things without wearing a mask. They admitted that he walks through the Packer facility not wearing a mask, but that's okay because he's going from the coach's room to this. Come on. This is crazy, man. This guy's an idiot. And I had nothing but respect for the guy, everything I had heard from the guy, his personality, Jeopardy, all this stuff. But I'm sorry, man. This is bad news. NFL last night saw the Colts beat the Jets 45-30. The 5-2 Buffalo Bills get the 1-6 Jacksonville Jaguars in Florida on Sunday. The Bills are a prohibitive 14.5-point favorite. I don't know if I want to lay 14.5. I might just forget about that game. Game of the weekend is Sunday night when the LA Rams host the Tennessee Titans. Now, I think the Rams and Bills are going to the Super Bowl this year. I think the Rams are the best team in the NFC. I think the Bills are the best team in the AFC. And that's my pick. Rams, Bills. Rams are an 8-point favorite against Tennessee. They just acquired Von Miller, the rush end from Denver, who had a great quote, by the way. They said, hey, well, how'd you find out? He goes, all I know is I went to bed at 4-4 and I woke up at 7-1.
That's great.
So that's good. I think I have to take the Rams in that game. There, no Derrick Henry for Tennessee. He's a fantastic rusher. I don't know how you replace him. They actually signed Adrian Peterson, the Titans, who's 36 years old. Remember, he had a couple of charges against him.
Yeah, with child
whipped his kid and stuff
other.
like child endangerment, child abuse.
Right.
And he had a gun too, or something like that. Yeah, goof. Anyway, he's 36 years old. I don't know if he's going to play it or not. I have no idea. The Cleveland Browns have released disgruntled wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ, who hasn't been with the team this week, and whose father had been trashing Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield on social media all week. Like, what the fuck is that? And here's your dad going, he never throws to my guy, and he's shitty quarterback. And hey, you're Baker Mayfield going, what the fuck? I'm trying to do my best. And here's the father of one of my teammates trashing me? What a distraction. Get the fuck out of here. He's gone. All right. You're Mark Shapiro and Mark Atkins. Ross Atkins. You're both of them. Yeah. You're Shatkins.
Right.
You're sitting on your thumbs while your predecessor in Toronto with the Blue Jays, Alex Anthopoulos, is celebrating the Atlanta Braves' first championship in 20 years. Why? Because he's the general manager of the Braves. Yeah, he landed on his feet after he got ushered out of town. And then he made a bunch of moves at the deadline to transform this team into a champion. What did you do? What did Shatkins? What did you? Oh, we came within a game of making the playoff. We won 91 games. It's a whole lot of nothing. Okay? So now with money to spend and free agency beginning on Sunday, the Jays have to be all in for 2022. Not waiting for a lottery pick or any of that shit. Let's go. We're going to go to a championship this year, 2022 or bust. So the first thing they have to do is present qualifying offers to their free agents. That's $18.4 million for 1 year. They have to offer it to Robbie Ray, offer it to Marcus Semien. I don't think either one of them are going to accept, but they have to offer him. And to left-hander Steven Matz, who was making $5.5 million last year. And you might be thinking, whoa, wait a second. I don't know if I want to offer $18.4 million for 1 year to this guy. Should we let him go free agency? And I'm saying, you know what? He may end up being your fifth starter. I don't know. But I think you got to keep this guy. I think he proved himself as an effective pitcher. If you have to, you move him to the bullpen, but I think he could be a legit fifth starter. 18.4 minutes only for 1 year. You got the dough. So Semien and Ray, you got to sign Marcus Semien. I don't think you're going to get Robbie Ray back. If they can't be signed, there are tons of other free agents out there. And rather than go through the whole list, let's just remember that they caught two of the biggest fish in the last 2 years. George Springer last year, Hyun-Jin Ryu the year before that. And George Springer, as we all know, it's well documented, did not have a full season with the Jays. This year, God willing, knock wood, George Springer will be back healthy 100% as your leadoff hitter and will lead the league in hitting. He's that good, folks. We know he's that good. That's why it was so frustrating last year to watch him play at 70%, 70, and try. We know how good he is.
I love
He's
your
going to lead off this team. They're going to be fucking great. Go out and get Max Scherzer or Clayton Kershaw or Kevin Gausman or Rodon from the White Sox. Go ahead. You got the money. Get a relief pitcher. Maybe Nate Pearson comes back from his hernia surgery. Maybe he can reach his full potential. I don't know. If not, he's trade bait. Go out. The Jays are 14-1 to win the World Series. 14-1. I like that price. I may bet a couple shekels on them.
I love following your love-hate with George Springer. It's quite something.
See, you got it wrong. You labor under the misconception that I hate the guy. I don't. I love the guy. I hated the position that he was in and the position that he put the team and his manager in last year with the injuries.
But
that's what I hated about it.
You hated that.
I know how good he is, Mike.
Right.
I'm a Blue Jays fan. So don't give me the shit. You hate him.
Well, you
hating him means I want to see him gone.
Well,
that's what hating him is, right? Hating him is when he comes to the plate, I want to see him strike out. Is that what you think I thought?
No, if I remember correctly, you hated that he was playing full out, defensively while he was coming back from an injury. Like you felt he shouldn't go full out because he'll hurt himself again.
That's right. I felt that he should have been the DH and that Charlie's insistence on putting him in center field was because Springer said, I'm a man. I can play center field. I don't want to just be a DH. That he thought DH was a lowly position. And Charlie didn't do what was right for the team. And they were one game out of making the playoffs.
And you also hated that when he did slump, because he had a period where he was slumping at the plate, that he was still batting.
Shouldn't have been batting leadoff.
Leadoff, right.
And again, I think Montoya was like, no, he'll snap out of it. And I thought, yeah, there was 3 games in particular, 3 in a row, where he just could barely swing the bat. He screwed his knee into the ground. He looked terrible. Yet he was still the leadoff man. And they lost 2 of those 3 games, not necessarily because of him, but anyway.
But I love the passion.
But I love George Springer. Listen, when they got him, was I not the first to go, this guy, you have no idea how freaking good this guy is. Superstar.
But it didn't help matters that he came from the Astros.
No,
as you.
And the other thing was, I thought that he had an injury in advance, and that maybe the Jays were getting damaged goods. That was my concern. Because when he came back in April and he went for 3 games and then re-injured himself,
right?
And he had hurt himself in spring training and missed spring training. There's all that stuff, if you recall. That was my concern. Was are they handling this guy right? Are they giving him too much rain? Anyway, I love George Springer, and I love the Blue Jays.
And you love baseball.
I love the fact that they're going to have Ryu and Barrios and Manoah and a couple of other great pitchers. Maybe Matz, maybe another free agent there, maybe Robbie Ray. I don't know.
And
I love him.
We know you love baseball, and you're you've demonstrated you love the history of the game, and you've always loved the game. And I'm curious now your thoughts on the traditional parts of the game that, like, for example, the fact that the pitcher will hit in the National League. What's going on that front? I heard we might have seen it for the last time.
It's a long time coming.
Okay.
Let's face it. There's a few exceptions. Zach Greinke is the one I can think of.
Yeah.
Where a pitcher, you're going, yeah, he's a pitcher, but he's a good hitter. I'll watch him. But other than that, watching a pitcher come up to hit would be like, I'm just trying to think of some type of a comparison. Like that would be like having your goaltender come out and take the penalty shot.
Right.
I mean, he's just not built for them. That position that's a different type of position. It's completely different. And so it makes the game look goofy. Like, why would I want to watch somebody who's not proficient at something that's not their specialty?
Are automatic outs. Like, and I think I heard in the World Series, like, just put down a bunt, do something, because I can't remember the pitcher's name, but he just swings at everything and he can't make contact. Just
here's the comparison, Mike.
Yeah.
Whenever we see a position player come into the mound to pitch,
right,
and he throws a 75-mile-an-hour pitch,
right,
it's the exact same thing. It's a joke. It makes the game look like a joke.
So long time coming. We've seen the last of the pitcher batting.
Yeah, it's going to be adopted. And remember, the DH has been part of the American League since 1973.
Yeah, it's all I know.
It saved a lot of careers. Like guys like Harmon Killebrew and Frank Robinson, and guys like that, their last few years, Carlton Fisk, were as DHs.
Right.
They could never have survived in the National League. And I like National League baseball. I like that type of, but that's not the kind of baseball the fans want anymore.
Right.
They don't want bunts. They don't want that. They don't want pitchers hitting. They want home runs. Chicks dig the
to,
long ball. So do guys.
That's funny. Shout out to Cliff Johnson.
Yes, Heathcliff. by the numbers, the most recent championship series TV viewership in the United States. Now, we can't include the Super Bowl because that's a one-off, 91 million viewers. But we're talking about a series.
Okay.
Best of 7 series, the finals. The World Series this year, 12.2 million on Fox. The NBA Finals, 9.91 million on ABC. The Stanley Cup Finals, 2.52 million on NBC.
Eek.
The MLS Cup Final, that would have been last year's.
And that's one game, right? The MLS Cup Final. It's not a series. I think it's one game.
You're right.
Okay. Just pointing that out. But
wait a minute. That's the Cup Final. That's not a series. Are there series prior to that? No, not in soccer.
There were, like when the Raptors, when TFC was on their run and they won it all.
Was it 2 of 3 or what was it?
They had a home and away. A home and away or whatever that's called. The
aggregate?
Yes. But not the final. The final was a one-game winner take all.
All right. So the MLS Cup Final was just over 1 million on Fox. And the 2021 WNBA Finals, 548,000 on multiple platforms, ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2. Now, Drake is one of many who are suggesting, demanding, hoping for a WNBA franchise in Toronto. I would go. I would support the local team.
You would go.
But I don't know anything enough about the league. So you would have to have some engagement with the league. There'd have to be enough people watching the games to be able to say, hey, the Liberty and the Phoenix Mercury and, oh, yeah, Kia Nurse is out with like more than just that. You got to have some kind of knowledge of the league, don't you?
Well, if I extrapolate here, so if the WNBA finals got just over 500,000 and they're 10 times the populace as Canada, that would suggest possibly that you'd have, I'd just say if you had a Toronto team in the final, I don't know, 55,000 people would tune in if I'm doing that.
Well, it depends what they're going up against. Are the Raptors playing? Are the Leafs playing? Their season ends like at this time of year, so they're playing through the summer. If I'm not mistaken, the WNBA schedule is through the summer.
I think so.
They're not going directly against the NBA. They can't. What venues are available to them?
Right. And that would be suicide.
I don't think. I mean, they go to this long. We're into November. The season's over, right? So
you would go to games.
Starts in October.
So do you have a price point? Like, what would you pay for a WNBA ticket to see Toronto team at the?
Well, that's a good question. I think at first I'd want to see the visiting teams, the best visiting teams. So I'd want to see Phoenix Mercury with Kia Nurse. I'd want to see, and I can't think of the name of the team, Sabrina Ionescu. Is she with New York?
You know what? They'd have to orchestrate this somehow where Kia Nurse ends up as an inaugural member of the Toronto team.
Right, because you've got to draw locally.
Right, you got to sell tickets here. And Kia Nurse is a name that basketball fans know in this country.
Anyway, the owner of the Phoenix Mercury, who also owns the Phoenix Suns of the NBA, is a majority owner is a fellow named Robert Sarver. And he's under fire after an investigative report by ESPN found that he is running a toxic workplace with several instances of foul, racist, and misogynistic comments, according to 70 former employees and others. 70 people. Now, for his part, Sarver says he has never used that kind of language and only once did he use the N-word and then stopped when he realized his mistake. This is what he said. He did admit to saying on numerous occasions that he is, quote, brutal to work for, like some kind of badge of honor. The allegations by ESPN also say that Sarver said he used the N-word because many of the players call each other the N-word. Anyway, this is just another story of a workplace that cultivates fear and intimidation, and secrets are kept and abuse takes place. And now people are speaking out. That's the way it is, I guess, in professional sports. I mean, we don't know which organization, unless somebody comes out and says, hey, and is it because they don't work there anymore? They got fired. They had a beef against the organization. Did this really happen to that extent? Well, according to this investigation by ESPN, it's opened an investigation for the NBA. They now have to, and they are going to investigate on their own after this story. Donald Sterling with the LA Clippers lost his franchise. They found audio tapes of him using terrible, horrible language, racist language. Gone. They booted him. Remember? Adam Silver said, that's it. Nope, we won't stand for that.
And those tapes were spread widely thanks to TMZ, etc.
Now, years earlier, Cincinnati Reds owner Marge Schott made racially insensitive comments quite often, and even admitted to owning a swastika, being a fan of,
wow,
the Nazis. Not good.
Wow.
So she was booted. So the words and actions of an owner reflect the organization and the league, right? Gary Bettman reflects badly on the NHL. This Yutz here, Sarver, reflects badly on the Phoenix Suns, the Phoenix Mercury, the WNBA, and the NBA, and him, and probably the city of Phoenix and the state of Arizona, and whatever businesses he runs, this guy, this billionaire. So yeah, the NBA is starting an investigation. If they find, audio recordings with Sarver, maybe somebody, maybe like in that movie, what was the movie I saw with, great film. Oh man, with Russell Crowe. He plays Roger Ailes.
Oh, I saw it too.
Fox News.
Yeah, it was.
And they recorded him, right?
Right. It was great.
He was making sexual advances, and Ashley Judd's character she's got her phone, but she's actually recording him, and that's what brings him down.
Yeah, it wasn't Ashley Judd though, was it? I think it was the Australian actress Naomi Watts.
That's not Ashley Judd.
Was it Naomi Watts? Anyway.
Oh, Naomi Watts. Sorry, I always get those two mixed up. You're right. I always get Ashley
But that was
Judd
great.
and Naomi Watts mixed up.
Crow is fantastic. It's funny.
Was Naomi Watts in Eastern Promises?
I couldn't recall. I just know that she's Australian and
that's Naomi Watts. You're right. My mistake. Anyway.
This
guy's gonna have to sell.
I did see a quote, like something to the effect of, and obviously I won't say the words, but he said something to the effect of, "The N-word players need an N-word coach." Like, this is a quote, except he didn't say N-word.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
All right.
It's bloody awful. All right. So this guy, he should be out. If they find any recordings, any evidence, the NBA in their investigation, he's gone. In golf, it's the Worldwide Technology Championship at Mayakoba in Mexico. This is in Playa del Carmen, which I've been to many times, in the Mexican, the Riviera. I was going to say the Cajun Riviera, but it's not Cajun. It's it's the Mayan Riviera, not the Cajun Riviera. Anyway, Matthew Wolff is your first round leader, 10 under par 62. Top Canadian Nick Taylor at 4 under. Ladies not playing this week professionally. That's about it. Before we go, the fourth and final installment of my story on Ida Schnall, the greatest Jewish athlete of all time, now available at thecjn.ca. Thecjn.ca. Hope you'll give it a read. And interestingly enough, there was a record set at this year's World Series. For the first time ever in history, 4 Jewish players, 4 members of the tribe, and I'm not talking about the Cleveland you-know-whats, 4 members of the tribe played in the same World Series game. Isn't that fantastic? Garrett Stubbs, the backup catcher for Houston, came into the 9th inning, joining Jock Peterson, Alex Bregman, and the starting pitcher and winning pitcher, Max Fried. Way to go.
Amazing.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
And that's it for episode 257 of Hebsy On Sports. Thanks, as always, to Toronto Mike for production and inspiration. Hit him up at Toronto Mike. And if you're interested in a sponsorship opportunity on this show, get in touch. We got a spot open. Love to have you as our partner. It's pretty easy to get in touch, too, in today's day and age. Okay? And if you can't get in touch with me, you can't get in touch with anybody. I'm available everywhere. Thanks for allowing us into your headspace. Back with another episode next week. Until then, so long for now. This podcast has been produced by TMDS and accelerated by Roam Phone. Roam Phone brings you the most reliable virtual phone service to run your business and protect your home number from unwanted calls. Visit roamphone.ca to get started.
Hebsy, let's say goodbye to the viewers on YouTube.
Thank you, YouTube viewers. Have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you next week.
Bye for